Hello everyone, and welcome back to another top-level match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're going to be checking out a very high-level match that was played between our founder and his competitor spawning over on the other side here. It's gonna be none other in the blue Cortex or the Cortex faction, Cortex Legion. I can't say Legion anymore. Legion is a faction now. In the blue Cortex armor, it's gonna be none other than Barcast TV. Clocking in at 57 open skill and gonna be showing us what he's got in this best of 3 series of Beyond All Reason competitive 1v1. I'm very excited to see what ends up going down between these two because, well, yeah, it's like meeting your host at a party, right? This is the Great Gatsby of competitive 1v1 Beyond All Reason. Barcast TV going to be showing us how it's done, and with a not measly open skill value here. In fact, hold on, just out of my curiosity, I'm going to pull up the leaderboards here. So, according to the leaderboards for the dual leaderboards, the open skill cap, the top open skill on the entire leaderboards, is Darth Revan, clocking in at 62.51 open skill. So just to put all that in perspective, that means that Barcast TV, the next person down, would be 58 open skill. So we're talking about top 1, top 2, top 3, definitely within the top 10 as far as the 1v1 dual category does go. And that's impressive in and of itself, but it's not like this is going to be an easy matchup because we do, on the other side, have Modulo going to be playing here today. Another well-known commander in the 1v1 scene. He's going to be clocking at 51 open skill, so again, up there with the top dogs, and going to be playing as my beloved Armada. I'm very excited to see this. I feel like in recent matches, we haven't gotten a chance to see a lot of Armada gameplay, let alone a lot of Armada bot gameplay, so I'm very, very curious what the strategy is. Well, yeah, it's going to be here from Modulo, right? These are... Effectively, this is the 1v1 tournament of the year. This is the 1v1. This is the place where you go if you want to show off your best 1v1 strategies. We're not going for goofy strats here. This isn't some sort of cheese that Modulo is going for right now. No calm drops or anything like that. This has got to be something that Modulo really believes in. It looks like we're going to be going for a little bit of a mix of pawns and ticks right here. Very valuable, of course, because those ticks are so fast. They can get across the field super, super quick. But Barcast TV is shutting this down. In fact, there were a few already that were countered already by Barcast as we shut those down with the Rascals, the Incisors, and, of course, the Commander as well. It's going to be a vehicle start here for Barcast. That does mean we're a little bit slower off, and you can see indicated here by basically the fact that the Red Commander is 3 times as many units out on the field. Not to mention, of course, 2 expansions going on simultaneously. Wonderful stuff right now from our Red Commander Modulo, because, of course, that does mean that eco is going to boom like crazy. We have to keep up with the energy scaling, we have to keep up with the build power scaling, and indeed, that's probably why we have another constructor on the tab here. Wouldn't be surprised to see a few more of these, actually. A little bit of micro going on. No doubt the reason why that commander is standing idle right now. We do have some units sneaking their way around right here. Barcast trying to sneak past the defenses and go for a little bit of counterattack damage. Now, one of the most pesky things about 1v1s is just how quite explosive all your early game structures are. Metal extractors, wind turbines, radar towers, all that early game stuff. Super, super low HP, and so it does mean even the lightest of units like these Rascals here can get a wonderful kill on something like, for instance, a radar tower, and there we go. Radar tower does fall. It buys a little bit of time here for these pawns to react, though. Will they be able to shut this down before it can kill another metal extractor? Rascal is trying to deal with this. We're busy microing on the other side here. You can see this pawn pushing into the back line to cause a little bit of havoc, but it does throw off the aggression right here for Barcast. Yeah, very tricky, right? I mean, we have to jump back and forth constantly to see these two fights going on. You can imagine when you're actually playing and microing these units. Very, very difficult to pull off. Looks like the mechs will be kept alive. Pawn hero will save the day. All of a sudden, the aggression is threefold. As Barcast has multiple units pressuring multiple different angles here, this becomes quite difficult for Barcast to hold. Sorry, Modulo is pressuring multiple different angles. Barcast just trying to hold on. Now, the Incisor, pretty good. There's a reason why Core Commanders always go for Incisors. It's the fact that they're just awesome. They really do a huge amount of damage for their metal cost. They have... Oh, nice snipe right there. Huge amount of damage for their metal cost, decent amount of durability, and of course, speed. I am speed. Finally, things settle, though, and we are making our way towards what is much more of a stagnant game here. LLT is now coming up as we do have the pawn moving in and the Incisors to reinforce this area after one of them fall. We will see 2 of them take its place, like the mighty Hydra, pardon me. The Medusa's the other issue. But all said and done, both of these commanders now relaxing a little bit, sort of pulling their foot off the gas in order to expand in the economy. And as you can see, that's going to be crucial here for our red commander, going into more build power so that we can start up wind turbines and continue scaling the eco. We have one sole constructor back here continually building wind turbines, and then others here to build power and wind turbines and all sorts of other stuff. We do need a battery at some point too. Armada commanders really, a little bit more so than core commanders, rely on those batteries. Having the energy storage to actually utilize the extra wind speed that you get, or the extra wind efficiency you get, turning it into energy conversion, it can be super powerful. I've seen it win games before. We don't quite see it yet here today. Barcast TV expanding northwards with the constructor, or with the commander. This is oftentimes pretty much the stock standard. You send your commander out to go ahead and do a little bit of scouting and a little bit of mechs expansion, just because it's pretty difficult to kill the commander in the early game. It's not impossible, and especially with the almighty power of the tick, it's certainly doable. But at least in the early game, or the earliest part of the game, you're going to be relatively safe here. Especially with some LLTs down, this is going to be all good for Barcast. And of course, it makes that economy boost up like crazy. These are also guarded expansions, so we have the LLTs. So all said and done, this is a very safe play here from Barcast. Kind of going for the tried and true method, as a whole bunch of pawns do manage to actually get the surround on some incisors here. Okay. Definitely a good fight here, trading out 2 of those pawns for 3 incisors for the red commander. The issue is we need some sort of way of reclaiming all that. If a constructor gets out here and reclaims all that metal for Barcast, not really an issue. If the metal goes back to our red commander Modulo, then it does become a little bit more concerning. And these are not naked expansions here either for the red commander. Both of these comms actually going for guarded expansions, which is a little bit funny. I feel like oftentimes we will see one commander risk it all and the other commander play it very safe. In this case, both of these commanders going for very LLT heavy expansion paths. And it might just come in handy here, as we do have some pawns for the defense, but the LLT will be crucial, because as that LLT fires away, it can also trigger flanking damage, or the pawns vice versa can trigger flanking damage. It can suddenly bring these incisors down way quicker than just the LLT alone. Okay. We're settling into that cozy middle ground between the early and mid game here. Both commanders wondering what their next step should be. It's not uncommon to see core commanders go for an air transition. Pivoting into bombers against an Armada commander makes a lot of sense, because you can hit those wind turbines where they really rely on their energy generation. Especially on a map like this with a good wind speed, it's going to be likely that we see something like that. The other option, of course, is just to increase the eco. Go for more expansions and continue pressure all around, and that seems kind of what Barcast is leaning towards. Constructor over on the northern side does fall right here to a hero pack of incisors. Manages to bring it down before he can secure that LLT. We do have a couple to prevent some light run-bys, but ultimately these twin LLTs are not going to hold up too much better against, well, say 5 or 6 incisor or so. But we do have a tech transition here from the red commander, going for one of those advanced solar panels. That's uncommon. Okay. Must have been looking for a way to spend that metal that we've gotten from the double expansion here from, well, the commander, the triple expansion, really. We had the expansion on the north, the commander on the middle, and the constructor on the southern side here, building these mexes. Trying to spend that metal in whatever way we can, and you know what? I don't mind an early solar panel like this. It stabilizes that energy economy quite nicely, and especially with now triple battery, things are going to be feeling quite nice for the red commander. At least we can spend our metal comfortably. Incisors pushing in at this point. LLT's trying to clean it all up, and they're doing a decent job. 2 of those tanks do fall, but 2 more make it through to the backline. At the very least, the LLTs stay up and running, so no follow-up run-by units can make it through, but we do have to clean these up. Incisors are going to be in a little bit of trouble here as the medium tanks do catch them. Janus fires away, and with its twin rocket salvo manages to shut those down. Yeah, I mean, removing all existence of those incisors from the battlefield. Quite lovely, indeed. Another huge trade over here on the southern side. I gotta say, I'm impressed with how well these pawns have traded out against the incisors. We don't see that all too often, but the whole point of trading these incisors out was just to kill this con, and we did achieve that, let alone killing the metal extractor, which is quite nice as well. No more expansion on the southern side until this resbot gets over there and resurrects that con so we can rebuild. Meanwhile, more medium tanks, or more light tanks rather, moving in onto that southern side, ready to take advantage of the weakened state of the army on the southern part, trying to find an opportunity path to attack forward. Meanwhile, giant army building the midsection. Modulo with a couple of Janus folded in here makes this a little bit scary for a commander to deal with. All of a sudden, Barcast really doesn't want to be fighting that in the middle of the map with the commander like normally you would want to threaten to do, right? You'd go out there with the D-guns, it would be very scary, nobody would want to fight it. As soon as those Janus come out, though, that aggression turns on its head, because just a couple of those missiles can weave down a commander, can blast it apart in just a couple of seconds. Self-DQ'd up here on the LLT. Ooh, okay, canceled right there as the the incisors actually don't kill it. That was a close call right there, but did manage to actually save the LLT. Nicely done. Where's that resbot at? Oh, another self-D on these LLTs over here as well. Okay, hey, you know what? That explosion did kill 2 of those tanks. It's more than it was going to get before. Not the end of the world. I love to see it. I'm glad that we're microing those finally. One of those things about Beyond Horizon that's always been a possibility, but we just never see it. And like even the tippy top levels of play, we never saw it for the longest time. So I'm glad to see, finally, we're getting to that level. Modulo here. Now degunning down the medium tank, or the riot tanks rather, of Barcast. LLT will fall here as well. There's another LLT, 1 LLT. I think even that is scary to push into with the commander. Yeah, cutting down about 30% of the commander's HP right there. Maybe a little less, closer to like 25, 20% of the commander's HP. Still impressive for a single bit of static defense, but all of a sudden this area is completely overrun. Modulo has taken control over the midsection of the map. It leaves the southern and northern sides a little bit exposed, but we don't really have a lot moving in. We have a couple of these pounders moving on the northern side. I like these in position better as static defenses, basically just to prevent any sort of run-by attacks. We're a little bit past that in this game. There, 1 or 2 are nice for shutting down medium tanks, especially when they're balled up in a group. But overall, you only need about 1 of these in every choke point, and all of a sudden, you've locked out any kind of tick run-bys or even pawn run-bys to a certain degree. It all depends on the micro, right? But when you're managing 4 or 5 different armies all at once, it's very difficult to do. I love these little hit squads, though. Oh, that's so neat. So we've got a couple of medium tanks and some Janus, and I think there was a missile truck at one point. At least in the middle army, we do have a bunch of missile trucks folded in. Nice, of course, for the anti-air in case shurikens are an inevitability, but we also, of course, can use those for scouting so that those Janus missiles have a basically 100% accuracy. Yeah, medium tanks encroaching on the southern side here. A bunch of medium tanks and riot tanks. Wow, actually, never mind. All riot tanks from the blue commander. What on earth? Okay. Well, that's a bit of a rare strategy. Okay, we are finally making some brutes, but that is a little bit interesting, yeah. Huh. Very, very heavy on the riot tanks. That's really curious. I don't think we've seen a commander go so heavy into the riot tanks before. I mean, I kind of love it. They're large AoE. They don't have a lot of single point damage, but their huge AoE makes them really, really dangerous against clumped up units, and these tanks do tend to clump up. I think we need a scout or something in front to bait out those Janus missiles. Yeah, those hurt quite a lot, and every time they can recharge and refire, it hurts even more. Ooh. Yeah, those Janus, they can fire from so far out. More and more of those riot tanks firing away here, though. This is where they want to be. Yeah, all those gripped up medium tanks. Oh, look how awkward that is to push into. All of a sudden, dozens of medium tanks taking tons of damage. It's not a lot of damage, but when you spread it out across, or you multiply it really across multiple different units, 5 or so different units, it adds up really quickly. Okay. Well, suddenly, Barcast has ended up in a controlling position here. Basically, the entire army of Modulo has been destroyed. Are we going to try and reclaim it, or are we just going to try and degun the scraps here? Modulo, at least for the time being, reclaiming most of the metal from this wreck here, but it's really concerning how many of these riot tanks are pushing in from the north. Suddenly, it does not matter. The commander is the win condition, and it seems like we're pushing to, like, break the base, I guess. Yeah, it must be a base rush. Modulo trying to rush towards the base right here of the blue commander, hoping for some D-guns. But that is a low HP commander, 44% HP remaining. Only takes a couple more connections from those medium tanks in order to shut that down. Yeah, we're thinking better of it. We're gonna hop into the pool. Pools of Illis, by the way, the name of this map. Just realized I forgot to introduce the name of this map. We are gonna hop into one of those pools of Illis and make our great escape. Yeah, okay. It was a risky gambit. I think we were really hoping beyond hope that we would be able to get into that backline and degun down that laboratory, but it just isn't the case. 600 or so metal available over here. Ooh, Janus missiles. Yeah, they can connect. Especially with the radar that the commander provides. Those Janus are pretty dangerous. It's a big burst of damage, but if they land in a big group, they can multiply that damage again. Modulo, pushing once more through the midsection here. Doesn't want to lose control of this, but we do have little run-bys headed around in every which direction. One of those things that I love about Barcast is that he's so on top of it with trying to send these run-bys, even when microing against giant armies, making sure to send these little run-by hit squads, hit forces, to try and do a little bit more damage around the map. And this geothermal is, well, obviously quite nice to the energy production here for the red commander, stabilizing that energy for a long time. And all of a sudden, it's about to go kaboom. Just like that, geothermal falls, resurrected incisor to try and clean this up. Okay, very cute. And I'm gonna run right on by here. Not bad. We have exploiters actually coming up on this side. That's adorable. Little LLT forest as well as some exploiters. Gonna make it super awkward to push forward on this side. Suddenly, Modulo in a whole bunch of trouble. Stuck in the water. Are we gonna make a pivot towards anything that can kill anything in the water? I don't know what we could. I mean, bombers seem like the next logical step, and that is where we're headed right now. Yeah. An air lab comes up and running, and obviously Shuriken are a possibility here for a core commander as well. One good engagement supported by Shuriken is all it takes to flip a battle like this, especially with the T1 bot lab. Yeah, there they are, the res bots. I constantly harp on commanders for not getting those res bots out early enough, especially when these tank battles start happening. Finally, Barcast is going to be making good use of this nearly, well, more than 3,000 metal lying in corpses on the front line right here and guarded by these troops. Huge blitz attack, though. This is an all-in from the Red Commander, hoping to win this game right now. We have the gunships coming out here to support this, and we have the blitzes trying to run by, but that's exactly what the pounders are for. Hard countering the blitzes with the AoE and the impulse. Oh, we just don't have them in the right spot. Oh, no. AA-bot's firing away at those gunships, so that's quite nice to see. We have more and more of those riot tanks coming out. Oh, we're just spamming the riot tanks. I love it. They're super, super slow, but if you have them in the right spot, one or two good engagements, and suddenly they can basically win. Oh, Commander walked into an LLT. My goodness. Okay. GG is called as the hero LLT manages to kill Modulo, and Barcast TV takes game number 1 in this best of 3 series. Let's go ahead and hop right on over to game number 2. Match number 2. With the point on the board here for Barcast TV, it's going to be match point, and it's going to be all in Modulo's hands here to try and come back from this 1-0 lead. Spawning over here on the northern side, it's going to be once more our core commander. No, pardon me, actually. This was Modulo going for Armada last game. Going to be going for a little bit of a switch up this game, and going to be playing a little bit of core today on Archsimkats Valley. I struggle with this map name every single time. Spawning on the other side also as a core commander, it's going to be BCTV, and indeed we're going to go into some of those good old-fashioned core vehicles here. It's so comfortable, right? I mean, you can kind of just deal with everything with core vehicles is really the nice part. You've got the incisors, which do a huge amount of damage and have lovely speed. They can do good single target damage. They're also good against groups. They're kind of a one-stop shop, all sort of stops and goes solution to all your issues as a core commander going into a 1v1 game here. There's not really anything like that for Armada. Like, the Blitz kind of doesn't fill that role. The Janus is sort of specifically pointed towards some of those more sturdy units on the field. It's very tough. It's very tough for an Armada commander going into vehicles. Eventually you get into some really powerful stuff in the T2 era, which I feel like is kind of just generally how Armada versus Cortex plays out. But in the early game, it's impossible to deny that incisors kind of rule. But okay, we've got a constructor coming out here. It looks like we're going for a constructor into a whole bunch of these rascals and some incisors, and then of course into more and more of these constructors here. Barcash is building a whole bunch of wind turbines. Looks like we're going to go for 7 wind turbines in total and 2 solar panels before we send the commander on his way to go capture some more of those metal extractors. Always important to claim those mexes as fast as possible, right? The earlier you get them, the earlier they pay off. And it looks like we are going to see a very similar strategy here from Modulo. Opting for an extra solar panel before the wind turbines here, but effectively the same strat. One con comes out on the field, and then the rascals are going to be rolling out of the laboratory. Now, as these cons move out to expand here, looks like second con is moving out now for Barcast on the 2-ish minute mark. As these cons move out, you have to reinforce them, right? And so that's one of the tricks with vehicles is that it's much harder to produce a big volume of units, more quantity of units. So it's really important that you expand with a commander in one of these directions. And that's why we see Barcast moving out here, queuing up the mexes, queuing up the what are they called? LLTs. Queuing everything up to try and guard those mexes and keep those expansions going. That way, at the very least, the commander, I mean, it can kind of take care of itself, right? You don't have to worry about the comm in the early game, like I said earlier. You basically just have to worry about the cons, the raw cons that are headed out here. So I like to see that it thickens the amount of units that you can put on defense here for any of these. And I love this distraction too, right? Sort of forcing Modulo to think, hey, Are we going to defend this unit that's now heading across, or are we going to try and be aggressive with these units? Indeed, we're going to send the rascals on their way to go have a look. Maybe see if they can do a little bit of damage. Commander already over here, though, so not too worried about that. Little pack of rascals coming on over in this section as well, firing their little heat ray beams at each other, trying to microwave each other to death with their little spinny gantry turret things. Very adorable. Any Command & Conquer fans out there? I feel like these really, really remind me of the bikes. The Nod bikers. Yeah. Especially the way they can kind of like turn and pivot. I kind of love it. Over on the other side, we are going for a triple con expansion here. So this is a little bit of a different strategy. Keeping the commander at home is, well, it's a little bit safer for the commander. It's also a little bit safer for the base, because you have that walking LLT built in, right? But the disadvantage, of course, is that, like I said earlier, those cons are going to be spread very thin. Trying to build those bases and trying to defend those cons as they go out to build those bases, grab those metal extractors, yeah, just takes a lot of resources in a lot of different places. We do have enough army here to do it for now, but once they move out onto the open terrain, things are going to change quite quickly here. So far, though, a metal advantage here for Barcast by 4 points. Trying to extend that lead by going for the con out to the metal extractors here. We're going for mexes and then LLTs, which is, in theory anyways, the slightly riskier way of doing this, but it's not the end of the world. It's still very safe as long as you're doing it with the commander. Cons over here, each guarded by at least one incisor, is the other thing. Making sure that each of these are safe, at least from the lightest of units, like these rascals that are continually harassing each other here in the midsection of the map. So far, though, a very passive game. Neither team really, or neither side really getting much damage, achieving too much against the other team here. It is, or the other player here, I should say. Can you tell I'm used to casting 8v8s? It's one of those things where, when you're playing a mirror matchup, early losses of the same kind of unit as your opponent really start to add up pretty quickly, right? Any amount of metal that you donate is just metal that goes directly back to their side. Incisors here do catch a little bit of a roll-by. Deflecting that quite nicely, and also triggering a little bit of a defensive response, I wouldn't doubt. Yeah, Barcast's going to start pooling resources to the middle of the map here to try and shut this down. Incisors and rascals and all sorts of other stuff, trying to head in that direction to make sure that we have at least some kind of response to this moving forward. BCTV already with this high ground advantage right here. This rascal will crest the hill. Ooh, nice response right there from our red commander. It'll eventually be shot down by the chasing rascals, but at the very least did get a little peek at what was going on up here and did see that Barcast is expanding. We should probably keep expanding. Incisors continuing to push in. Yeah, there's enough here for the defense, though, I think. The defender's advantage is real. These incisors here in blue definitely trying to fight under those LLTs. We want to take these fights under the static defenses if ever we can. Con is going to be forced backwards here by these aggressing units. You can see the wall of LLTs that we plan to build. This is sort of our... This is where you stop. This is where you don't push any further. That's the line that we're trying to draw in the sand. Now, it looks like it's not a line that the red com modulo here is willing to respect, as we do see incisors continuing to mount over on this side, and in fact being reinforced over on the southern side. And suddenly this fight not looking so good. No LLTs to assist here, so it's really just going to come down to numbers, and the snowballing effect means the numbers are going to fall quicker here for the blue commander than the red commander. And it does mean that all of a sudden this army is looking menacing. It has a direct path back to the main base. The only thing shutting this down are the reinforcing tanks from the blue commander. LLT over here in order to fire away at this, trying to protect as much of this as possible. It does go down. Nice micro on the incisors right here, though. Yeah, red commander trying to target down the weakened incisors and doing a great job of making sure that the weakest ones fall first. A lot of these are super thin in the HP as well, but as long as they're up and running, as long as they're standing, they're going to be firing. And that's really all that matters. Okay. This is sort of petered out, though. Yeah, those vehicles have run their course, and now, we are going to reinforce. Okay, so we're sort of doubling down. This is risky here. This is super, super risky here for the red commander. We've already donated about 500 metal worth of units. We're going to be sacrificing, or at the very least positioning, about 600 more or so. Actually, about 1,000 more. Incisors are pretty expensive. Yeah, this aggression's going to be turned back. Without the tools in place here to really specifically counter the incisors, it's just going to be a numbers game, and the defender's advantage is always going to be a pain to deal with. Nice little run by over here on the northern side, though. It looks like Barkas does slip through and manages to get a kill on at least one metal extractor. Pulling some of those incisors out from the middle of the map is quite nice, as well as we will also focus down one of these LLTs. Always nice if you can snipe one of these LLTs that doesn't get replaced, and then suddenly you've opened up a line where you can actually attack through. Bunch of incisors built up here on the northern side here. Geothermal also coming up to try and boost that economy here from the red commander, but it does mean for at least a little while we're going to be brutally E-stalled. Are we starting up another vehicle lab? Oh, okay. We're just doubling down. We're just going to go for double vehicle lab production here. Geothermal started up in the midsection of the map here. Geothermal also building in the back line of the map. Okay. Both of these commanders thinking in terms of economics or ecological stability here as they both go to tap those geothermal vents. Interesting proxy base set up over on this side. Barkas setting up a lab to move towards the northern side and has the lab on the southern side. Very interesting to see both these commanders basically mirror each other with the double lab builds, just to try and save some time on getting those units out on the field. That's effectively all that this is just making sure that there's units on the north and units on the south constantly, and you don't have to worry about moving them around all too much. This is a dangerous pack of incisors here, though. 2,000 metal worth of incisors. We're going to need something lofty to shut this down. Ooh, self-D. No self-D on that. Unfortunately, I don't think it probably would have been able to connect anyways, at least in the time that it saw it. But yeah, this amount of incisors is going to necessitate some sort of a response here. Meanwhile, a push over on this side. Actually deflected quite nicely here. If they get that con, it does hurt a little bit. These incisors are queued to walk straight into a bunch of LLTs, so these are not going to last too long either. Unless the LLTs fire directly into a corpse and don't actually target the units. Happens often. Geothermal moments from completion here. About 30 seconds off from completion. The one in the base, though, is, however, completely up and running, meaning that we're up to about 1,000 energy per second, which is huge here for the blue commander. Modulo, lingering around 100, or lingering around 1,000 as well, which is actually really nice. Both of these commanders fully vested in just spamming out as many tanks as possible. Another constructor coming up over here. More and more metal extractors being claimed all the time as well by our blue and red commanders. For the first time this game, Modulo does manage to sink a metal advantage. Taken back by the reclaim here momentarily, but it's still a close match at this point. Dragon's Maw, I love this. Tons and tons of damage from the Dragon's Maw. It's super, super high DPS. You can see just how wonderfully it worked to shut down all these incisors right here. Certainly getting its money's worth shutting down those incisor tanks. Meanwhile, this run by is cleaned up as well. And we've got about a bajillion incisors from both of these commanders. Little wall of units over here on this side to thwart the attack in red. LLT is also quite dangerous. More and more LLTs over here. Again, this is the wall. This is Demour. This is where we're supposed to stop at all fronts. Make sure that the Red Army could never advance through here. We are getting to that point, though. Oh, we're getting to that point where commanders are in trouble. Modulo, found in the middle of the map right here. Incisors, they pass on by. Yikes. That could have been a whole lot worse. If these incisors were just split up and Modulo was fully surrounded, I'm pretty certain that that would have been game right there, but it looks like we're just going to ignore the commander and keep on moving. Okay. No riot trucks this time. Too wide open and flat, I must imagine. Still kind of feels like the ideal place to build some of those riot tanks. Little incisor run by over in this section as well. Both of these commanders nipping at each other's throats, trying to find that opening that we're looking for here. And really, it's just mass incisor. If you're a fan of the incisor, then I think this is probably your match. Medium tanks are finally starting up. I saw a couple of them here in red. Yeah, there they are. We're thinking about that medium tank production, but you can't really do 2 labs of medium tanks without quite a lot of metal production. Oh, and then again, we are, with the reclaim being high, we are quite heavy in the middle. Yeah, we're wasting build power in the back when we're on medium tanks. Okay, turning one of these labs off probably would be ideal. What a ball of tanks, though. A grand total of nearly 6,000 metal worth of tanks. You can counter it pretty much entirely, though, with just a couple of those riot tanks is the awkward part. Like, even with that much metal, it really just depends on the engagement that you take and the shape of it. I mean, you send 10,000 metal worth of anything through any line, it's going to crash pretty hard. As we do see a whole bunch of these red tanks moving out here. Where are the riot tanks? Oh, there we go. Okay, we have one queued. It's just a little too late. Fighter in the air there for just a moment as well reveals that the blue commander has gone into an air transition in the backline. That's quite nice. This push will be turned back, and it looks like these red forces will eventually flee. As they're moving back here, another blue run-by is headed on in. It looks like these incisors have broken through the front line wall here of the red commander, triggering a little bit of a counterattack, but at the very least, going to be able to kill some mexes in a con over there as well. Twin Guards holding the line right here. I would have loved to see some more self-destructs here on the light laser towers. Again, 1 or 2 good self-destructs can blow up 5 or 6 incisors, way more than they would kill normally. 100% worth it. Incisors getting gummed up over here. Oh, okay, Shuriken have come out to play. Sure. Okay. And we're sending them in one by one, unfortunately, so they are mostly dying. These units kind of caught up on this cliffside, though. Incisor, I mean, they're doing the best they can, trying to paralyze whatever they can catch. We really need to see these attack move, though. These are just completely AFK over here on this southwestern side. Lots going on over here, though. Riot tank doing excellent work. It's got 1 kill under its belt, but I have a feeling that we have quite a bit more damage than that. And yeah, every time one of these shoots, it's like 8% damage on everything in its radius. It really is gigantic, and against these big clumps of units, it just adds up so quickly. Not to mention when it kills a bunch of these units, it does leave a huge roadblock in the way. Broadcast TV having to come up with a solution to a rather large problem over on the northern side. Air Lab's still up and running, so we could see Shuriken over here. There's enough lashers in the mix here, though, that I don't think I think the anti-air is thick enough. Yeah, Shuriken falling almost immediately. Bombers could potentially work as well, just for their high concentrated damage. 1 or 2 good bombing runs against this army can soften it up enough for the medium tanks and the riot tanks to clean up. Love this, though. We do have the cons. Reclaiming the metal right here. Sending the feast back to the printers. Commander setting up another another lab in the midsection. We're actually going to go for Wolverines. Okay. Rare to see the Wolverines in action here in a 1v1, but it looks like we will be headed that direction. Barcast setting up the mother of all LLT forests. Trying to do anything to stop this army from pushing forward, but this is looking quite dangerous. Then again, it is an illusion. This appears to be repulsed right now by the red or by the blue commander. Modulo in retreat. Meanwhile, medium tanks pushing on the southern side. Look at that. Look at the riot tank getting value. Every one of those tanks losing about 25% HP is huge. It's just a single riot tank. You can imagine, especially with flanking damage too, it gets really crazy. It adds up so quick. Medium tanks. I mean, I love that the lashers are firing away right here. LLT's under fire. With the Wolverine, I thought we were just gonna go for Wolverine so we could just blast all this down without having to sacrifice troops, but I guess we're just gonna brute force it. As is the name of the unit, right? I mean, they're aptly named. Brute's gonna spread out at this point to try and kill as many metal extractors as we possibly can. Fighters coming up right here, and we do have a whole handful of bombers coming up as well. Will this be met by the blue commander, or will these be shut down? Rather, will they shut down the entire blue economy? Looks like there's a lot of potential. Constructor moving dangerously far forward right here. We do need to see this, back up and start reclaiming from the rear. Contour it actually on the front here for a little bit of build power is quite nice. Hey, we're going to set down a laboratory. Okay, nice. Setting down the laboratory in order to reclaim this front line. I love it. Medium tanks rolling forward right here. Just trying to push that front line so Resbots can get out here and do their good work. Oh, we're not going to go for Resbots. We're going for Grave Robbers. Okay. Bombers making their way across. Did we notice the bombers? Do we see the bombers? There are fighters rolling out of the lab. There's tons of fighters coming in from up north. Okay. You know what? That's enough of a fighter response that I think we're going to be able to clean most of this up. Those bombers are falling pretty quickly. Alright, yeah, most of the bombers fall. Only about 3 of those bombers actually deploy their payload. Very, very nice response from BCTV. Excellent crisis management. Meanwhile, the Red Army is pushed all the way back on the northern side. No T2 labs, no sort of tech transitions here. We're just using the air lab. We're actually going to eat up the air lab here. We've got the air cons, which are quite nice. You can send those around to go reclaim all these mexes, but mexes are falling left, right, and center. We have the Resbots to reclaim all this metal. We have the thugs reinforcing from the front line, just lending a little bit of firepower and a little bit of sturdiness. And my goodness, BCTV manages to claim the victory. Overwhelming Modulo 2-0 in this best-of-3 series. What a scary set of commanders to fight against here, but well played to both of them, showing us some absolute top-tier play. We had a little bit of a T2 transition started up here, but it did not end up being necessary. GG, and I sure hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, of course, feel free to like and subscribe and join the BCTV community, and I hope to see you again in the very next cast. Peace out, everybody.